Chelsea's 2-1 win over Liverpool last round was nothing short of electrifying, a statement performance from Enzo Maresca's men that reignited belief at Stamford Bridge. But as the international break fades and domestic action resumes, the Blues face a familiar challenge, finding rhythm, stability, and identity beyond flashes of individual brilliance. The first burning question, setting aside the team's injury list for a moment, centers on one name: Cole Palmer. Who can possibly fill that void? Chelsea have attacking options aplenty, but let's be honest, there's only one Cole Palmer. Since arriving from Manchester City in September 2023, Palmer has blossomed into one of the brightest English forwards in the Premier League. More than just goals and assists, he's become the creative heartbeat, the pulse of this new Chelsea, shaping the very DNA of Maresca's side. Over the summer, the club spent aggressively in the transfer market, hoping to build a stronger cast around Palmer, who, at times last season, seemed to carry the attack single-handedly. Yet now, with the 22-year-old sidelined, that carefully drawn blueprint must be rewritten, fast. The English playmaker is expected to be out until at least November with a hamstring injury. He already missed 2 games back in August, briefly returned, then suffered a relapse in the clash against Manchester United in late September. Maresca confirmed that Palmer wouldn't return until after the international break, insisting the club would prioritize his full recovery. However, fresh reports suggest Palmer's comeback won't happen before November. That means Chelsea will have to navigate a crucial run without their number 10, including a tricky away trip to Nottingham Forest, a Champions League night against Ajax Amsterdam, a home fixture versus Sunderland, and a Carabao Cup tie at Wolverhampton. With Cole Palmer, we're a better team, Maresca admitted before the FIFA days break. But we've said it before, we must learn to play without him. We'll find solutions. Chelsea won't play with 10 men, easier said than done. On paper, Chelsea have depth in attack. In reality, Palmer's absence exposes just how much creativity and calm he brings to this young squad. If the Blues are serious about rejoining the race for the top 4, they'll need to prove they can thrive, not just survive, without their star man. And that's the real test for Enzo Maresca. Not just to replace a player, but to rebuild the spark that makes Chelsea's football flow. On paper, Enzo Maresca might already have the antidote. If Cole Palmer were the only injury concern, João Pedro would likely be Chelsea's first-choice replacement. The Brazilian forward naturally drifts deep to link play and thrives in one-on-one situations, traits that make him a near-ideal stand-in for the number 10 role. Back at Brighton last season, Pedro often operated just behind the striker, roaming freely and opening up spaces for runners around him. His numbers tell the story. He averaged 6.5 more touches per 90 minutes, created 1.3 chances, and attempted 1.6 shots, all higher than his current figures at Chelsea, 0.8 chances and 1 shot per 90. When allowed to play with that creative freedom behind the line, Pedro can express his technical flair, dribbling, and vision, precisely the kind of spark Maresca's system is missing without Palmer. But here's the catch. Liam Delap, Chelsea's only recognized striker, is also injured. That forces Pedro to play higher up as the lone forward, leaving Maresca short of options for the attacking midfield slot. Dropping Pedro deeper would mean starting either Marc Guiu or Tariq George up front, a risky move given both are still raw talents. Guiu has played just 16 minutes of Premier League football since returning from Sunderland, while George remains a promising youngster yet to make his mark. So, to really imagine Chelsea without Palmer, you only need to look back at that 2-1 win over Liverpool, where Maresca improvised his tactics brilliantly. The midfield trio featured Moises Caicedo, with Malo Gusto, normally a right back, tucked inside to offer defensive balance, while Enzo Fernández was pushed higher up to act as the creative fulcrum. Interestingly, Fernández has been Chelsea's joint top scorer in the Premier League this season, 3 goals, level with Palmer. He's more involved in attacking transitions, but completely replicating Palmer's role, operating between the lines, breaking defensive shapes with bold passes, is another story. The numbers underline that contrast. Last season, Fernández averaged 0.19 expected goals per 90 minutes, created 2.35 chances, and took 1.62 shots. This season, he's been asked to drop deeper alongside Caicedo to help in build-up play, yet remains Chelsea's most consistent attacking threat inside the box. Against Liverpool, the trio of Caicedo, Gusto, and Fernández offered a delicate balance between attack and defense. Solid, structured, yet still fluid. However, even with his technical intelligence and work rate, Fernández lacks three vital Palmer qualities: the audacity of passing, the ability to beat defenders one-on-one, and that explosive burst of acceleration that turns half chances into goals. Another name in the conversation is Facundo Buonanotte, the young Argentine midfielder brought in from Brighton, originally seen as the natural backup for the number 10 role. But like many of Chelsea's promising talents, he's still fighting the same battle, a lack of confidence and conviction. In his debut against Brentford, Buonanotte struggled to make an impact against a deep defensive block. He looked neat in possession but lacked the sharpness and daring needed to unlock tight spaces. His next outing against Benfica showed some improvement. He moved with better intent, passed with purpose, yet still the spark was missing. His dribbling and composure in crowded areas remain well below Palmer's level. One moment summed it up perfectly. Facing Benfica's backline, Buonanotte picked up the ball in the central pocket with room to drive forward and test the defense. Instead, he opted for the safer choice, laying it off to Pedro Neto on the wing. He then drifted inside to support, but the move fizzled out. He did everything by the book, but not everything by instinct. The very instinct that Palmer so often turns into magic. Of course, comparing anyone to Cole Palmer is hardly fair. Very few players, let alone at 22, possess that mix of flair, confidence, and cold-blooded efficiency in the final third. But if there's one player at Stamford Bridge right now capable of making fans rise from their seats, one player who can ignite that same sense of anticipation, it's Estêvão Willian. The 18-year-old Brazilian is starting to show exactly why he's being hailed as the Premier League's newest prodigy. His speed, fearless dribbling, and willingness to take risks bring something Chelsea desperately need in Palmer's absence: unpredictability. His decisive goal against Liverpool said it all. Not just a flash of technique, but a moment of maturity, courage, and timing beyond his years. So far this season, Estavo has made 9 appearances, scoring 1 goal and providing 1 assist. He averages 1.38 chances created and completes 3.79 dribbles per 90 minutes. Staggering numbers for a teenager in one of the most demanding leagues in the world. His ability to hold the ball under pressure, press aggressively, and explode into tight gaps gives Maresca a wild-card option, a touch of chaos, a spark of joy, in the search for a Palmer replacement. In the Champions League clash against Benfica, Estavo left the crowd in awe when he escaped the pressure of 3 opponents right outside his own box, sparking a dangerous counter-attack. And in the win over Liverpool before scoring his goal, he read Andy Robertson's pass, intercepted it, and delivered a perfectly weighted through ball to Marc Guiu, though the chance ultimately went begging. The quickness of thought and composure in that moment showed that Estavo possesses not only skill, but also a rare tactical intelligence for a player his age. The biggest risk in giving Estêvão Willian a larger role lies in his inexperience. Despite being hailed as one of the brightest young talents in the Premier League, the 18-year-old still lacks the maturity to consistently make the right decisions in high-pressure situations. His reading of the game is often impressive, but sometimes his youthful enthusiasm leads him into poor choices. For example, in that same match against Benfica, after his dazzling run past 3 defenders, instead of picking out teammates making runs down the flanks, Estavo attempted an ambitious pass straight into the defender's feet, and the opportunity slipped away. And that brings us back to the wider reality beyond tactics or potential: Chelsea's ongoing injury crisis. The Blues currently resemble a makeshift hospital ward, leading the Premier League with as many as 11 players, either sidelined or doubtful, ahead of match week 8. Even Enzo Fernández, arguably the most effective short-term replacement for Cole Palmer, is now struggling with a knee problem and could miss the upcoming fixture. Faced with such adversity, Enzo Maresca will need to summon every ounce of creativity and flexibility in his tactical playbook. The next match will be a true test, not just of Chelsea's depth, but of their resilience and adaptability in a season already full of challenges.